So a new PSA is making the rounds, and it asks, want to meet a family with a transgender kid? Now, I happened upon this commercial when I was watching a cartoon with my children. A cartoon with my children now. So there's clearly a direct audience, a direct marketing audience that these PSAs intend to try to target here. And as soon as I saw this come on, I immediately turned the TV off and went to something else. So, and by the way, the cartoon had nothing to do with any of this stuff. It was just a kid's cartoon. But anyway, at a time where we won't even let minors drive until 16 and drink until 21 and vote until they're 18, 14-year-olds and 8-year-olds can cut off their penis because they've been born in the wrong body. And of course, parents can create PSAs and encourage children to do that. It's incredibly barbaric, but I don't want to be ad hominem. So let's put the story to the test. The mother in this article makes some claims. So let's look at the article and let's see what she says. So when Amber Biggle, the mother of a 14-year-old transgender son named Max, learned that her state of Texas declared gender-affirming care, medical care for trans youth to be child abuse, the possible real-world repercussions were almost too much to bear. Oh, the insanity of not being able to cut off your breasts. And then, quote, she says this, the way we debate and legislate trans lives out of existence can absolutely cause depression and suicidality, Briggle tells Yahoo Life. And then, quote, a common misconception, she adds, is that kids are delusional and that we are, as parents, are not helping our kids because they really need psychiatric care instead of affirmation. Nothing could be further from the truth, end quote. So the bill, of course, here in question was signed by Texas Governor Abbott and is being looked at by places like Alabama and is intended to protect kids from what the White House calls gender-affirming care. But if we silence the noise and look at the facts, we can see that this is merely a lie intended to deceive people. Whole body plastic surgery, which is what we're talking about here, is actually not safe and continues to be the subject of caution by any doctor worth his degree because it's experimental. So let's put our compassionate mother's story to the test. Let's look at the actual evidence to her claim that this causes suicide and this is that parents should affirm rather than to seek care for their kids. So this is from the NIH, the National Institute for Health, and their National Library of Medicine. It says, quote, however, the suicide risk in transgender people is higher than in the general population and seems to occur during every stage of transitioning. Now there's a key, every stage of transitioning. It is important to have specific attention for suicide risk in the counseling of this population and in providing suicide prevention programs. So throughout every stage of transitioning, every stage, suicide risk does not go down for transitioning kids. Now, that's from the NIH. So if that wasn't enough, I wanted to also go one step further and try to provide a counterfactual here, and this is according to NBC. And it says, quote, gender-affirming surgery significantly improves quality of life, a study says. Approximately 75% of transgender women showed an improved quality of life after surgery, a study out of Germany found. Now, that's the end of the headline there. So a couple of things to help you sort through this madness that I think needs noting about this contrary study. 75% said that they improved in their quality of life after this. So just a little pushback here. How do you objectively gauge quality of life? The point is there is no way to objectively gauge quality of life. They don't provide the questions that were sent to people who went through these transition surgeries in this article, so we'll never know. But regardless, how do you really gauge quality of life? Not only is this a pretty dishonest way to judge whether experimental whole body plastic surgery, which I won't get tired of saying because we need to call it what it is, whether that actually helps, there is an added incentive for these people to actually lie. And it's this, people who have been radicalized enough to go through these surgeries are hardly going to come out of these things and say, you know what, this was the worst decision I've ever made in my life. Not to mention the people who have been radicalized are more likely to answer the questionnaire than those who went through a bad situation or circumstance because they know the social repercussions of speaking out against these surgeries. Now, the second thing is this, hormone blockers change the way that you feel. The mostly experimental drugs being used in these surgeries are mood-altering drugs and provide short-term mental benefit to those who take them. This is especially true of young women. Abigail Shire's book, Irreversible Damage, goes into how young girls who can be very emotionally and often depressed during puberty feel a reprieve from that when testosterone is introduced into their body. So you must remember and always keep this close. This is important to note, that those who are suffering from gender dysphoria who have fallen for the transgenderism radical agenda are genuinely rewarded for their surgeries. They are very often rewarded with short-term benefits and long-term pain. So to deny any real positive outcome from these things would be to miss some of what is happening here. So we need to acknowledge the fact that there is some positive reinforcement to these surgeries. So there's some real mental and emotional benefits to doing these things. So we can't deny that, but it's all self-imposed and drug-induced. So we need to acknowledge that there are some positive outcomes, but perhaps the biggest positive outcome, and I already kind of mentioned it before, but the biggest positive outcome here is obviously social media. So you can easily go from posts that get you like 12 likes to thousands in a day when you reveal that you went through transition surgery. And as we all know, the behaviors rewarded are the ones that are repeated. So the real question is not, did they gain some temporary benefit? The real question is, 15 and even 20 years down the road, how you doing? So when states like Alabama and Texas rise up to defend children from the predations of these transitional surgeries, we need to applaud as much as possible those willing to fight off the onslaught of liars in the White House and in the media. You can catch brand new episodes of Indie Thinker with Reed Huberman every Monday and weekly bonus episodes to keep you thinking throughout the week. But you have to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new episodes drop. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like this video and share it with friends.